The defense put on its last witnesses this morning in an attempt to discredit the state's key witness, Lester Weber, Jr. The 18-year-old black youth is himself charged as a principal in the murder of Mary Stout's husband, Brian, last June, by virtue of the fact he drove Helen Cundiff, charged with the actual killing, to the murder site. Former police officer Singletary's wife testified that she overheard a conversation to the effect that Weber had been promised a probated sentence if he would testify against the other defendants. First Assistant District Attorney Doug Mulder was called to the stand by the state and told the court that no deal had been made in his office. When this trial began last Monday, both defendants were charged on 2 counts, but by the time Judge Lewis Holland read the charge to the jury this afternoon, the first count, that of being co-principals to the murder, was dropped. State's Attorney John Stauffer elected to go with the second count, that of being an accomplice to the murder. In his final arguments, he asked the jury to believe that Singletary furnished the gun for the murder and that Mary Stout, with whom he was having a, quote, torrid love affair, unquote, was in on the conspiracy, in his words, up to her ears. Apparently, the jury agreed. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna, the Dallas County Courthouse.
Will you appeal the decision?
Oh, by all means we will, certainly.
How soon do you think you'll take that action?
We'll wait for the sentencing, and then we'll take the steps as they come after that.
You were the other partner, sir. What is your name?
John C. Thompson.
Were you surprised this jury came back in less than an hour with 9 guilty verdicts?
I was on part of it.
What part were you not surprised?
The parts that I was surprised on would have been the last 3 counts of the indictment.
Thank you very much.
And with respect to Rita Green, I was surprised about her being found guilty on all these these counts.
If the people think that the way to solve this problem then is just to close down the methadone treatment clinic, they just don't understand the problem. We're only treating, say, 150 out of a figure of 3,000 to 7,000 heroin addicts. We're just barely scratching the surface, and we've had what I would consider a setback in our administration of the program, but that doesn't discredit the program we have itself and the tremendous need to approach an even expanded administration of the program.
But how can you call for an expansion of the program when you're being criticized by people who say that you did not run a tight ship with the program you already had?
My reaction would be that we've made the mistake of hiring human beings to operate our ship, and 2 of the people operating our ship have made mistakes. But the overall success record of our program, I think, indicates that it is a good program and it needs to be implemented even further.
Well, I don't know anything about Ms. Westwood's business and don't want to comment on it. With respect to my own situation, I talked this morning my home around 6 o'clock with 2 different groups of people who are working very hard with respect to my attaining this chairmanship. Each of them felt that we had a hard vote count in excess of 92 votes, and that's a very hard vote, and that we had a favorable possibility of quite a number over and above that. Now, 105 votes are the number that are needed to be a majority in that meeting.
For 8-year-old Andre Klavniks, life is going to be an uphill battle for a number of years. But already Andre has accomplished much more than was ever expected. He was in a coma for 6 weeks, and doctors gave little hope that he would ever survive. Andre was struck by a car while crossing the street near his home in South Fort Worth, July 25th. That was 4 months and 6 days ago today. The reason Andre is alive is attributed to Fred Smith, who helped wheel the boy out of Fort Worth Children's Hospital today as nurses and friends he had made said goodbye. Smith arrived at the scene of the accident on that day back in July to find people standing around saying the boy was already dead. He didn't believe it and gave Andre mouth-to-mouth resuscitation for more than 20 minutes until an ambulance arrived. Since then, Smith has received 2 awards for his heroics from the Fort Worth Fire Department and the American Legion, and more important, he knows Andre will live. Andre's parents, Emmets and Lore Klavenix, and his brother and sisters took him home today, a miracle they thought at one time would never happen. Mrs. Klavenix said that with time and therapy, Andre will be as normal as any other growing boy, with no brain damage. It was a special day for Fred Smith, too. You could tell.
Miss Pinkston took me on a tour of her high school today, guiding me down the halls and speaking proudly of her school. But it was an unusual tour because Deborah Gardner couldn't see what she was showing me. Deborah is blind and has been all her life. But as I found out as I got to know her, she hasn't let her handicap black out the seeing world. She loves being part of it.
A lot of people have asked me how I get along in class when I can't take notes from the board. This really isn't hard because there's usually someone that can read the notes to me, and I write them on my Braille writer. And this is just a simple machine with 6 keys in which I type my Braille notes. And as far as my books go, they are all in Braille. And so when the teacher is lecturing or tells us to turn to a certain page, well, I'll just turn and scan the page and look for what he wants to look for. My handicap doesn't bother me except for little tiny things. You can do anything you want to if you set your mind to it. Winning Miss Pinkston is a great honor, and besides that, it proves to myself and also to other people that blind people can do things, and it made me feel good on behalf of all of my friends that are in high school like that and are blind and would like to do something like that. And it's one strike for us.
Martha McIntyre, Channel 8 News on the Move.
In the first half, but then it wound up as a clip.
Yeah, a little fast. Yeah.
She's trying to 3 plus 3.
I've been here 3 years.
Everyone's got
Yeah, it just all depends on who the judge is.
That's what I need right there.
You don't need any histrionics. I tried one at Ireland. Hope that I wouldn't trip and fall down.
I've heard about it.
They're taking apparently the 3 weeks while Dick Cabot's on vacation, and
less than 100 cents on the dollar, for 50 cents on the dollar or 25 cents on the dollar.
In 1972, should ever be allowed to run?
I suspect
Mrs. Westwood says that she has enough votes to be reelected.
that the number of people with whom I have worked that over the party, the Democratic Party, but looking at it in perspective, Dave,
Slow down. He's getting over it. Yeah. Wish they wouldn't film this. Would y'all not film this?
I didn't know. I thought I'd get in the shadow.
Get the camera on, right?
They told me to say hello.
Okay.
And I'm both locked in. I think it means more to me than anything. Except maybe in 1944, there were two more. I think about that.
When you were ambulance driver, medic?
No, I was a medic. I saved 2 men before.
There's video flag. There's a flag.
So the citations and the plaques don't mean half as much as today, do they?
Not as this flag. I think it's a wonderful Christmas. I could ask nothing better.
Case was the federal procedure that might use would be an actual guilty. That federal time and we straight up all the time. And just one of them reported have retired would have been chosen to be jury foreman. You will have the closing statements by the offender. Was found guilty to the jury room. You'll find that after this, turn their ready to get to the jury. A civil case is different from a criminal case. In a civil case, we have what?
And then the state should be divided into 10 areas. Any improvement. The nation up in 10 areas. With each acting as a committee raises this number from 5 to 8 with active committee. SCC members in 6 of these 10 areas, electing one of their, the chairman still has the right to reject the opinion and to make his own decision.
What we're doing is using the proceeds of the telethon, about $2 million, and trying to settle as much of the $9.5 million debt as we can. I have opinion of counsel that says that these people, having waited this long, and there having been settlements made, there having been the full payment not being very imminent, the opportunity for it now, that after waiting some 4 to 4.5 years for their debt outstanding, there's nothing improper or illegal or violation of any statute for them to accept a lesser sum in full settlement. That is,
if they're willing.
If they're willing. If not, the debt stays outstanding, Dave. And we've been able to settle about $4 million or $4.5 million, I guess. We're getting close to that now. I don't have the exact figure. It's still going on, and I'm working on that daily.
American Party representatives from 45 states converged on Dallas for the two-day meeting, and the election of a new national chairman was the highlight, a race which pitted Anderson against Tom Scherer of California, one of the new party's longtime leaders. But the election continued to point up one of the party's biggest problems. The news media is more interested in the major parties, in this case, whether or not Dallasite Robert Strauss will become the new national chairman for the Democrats. But despite this handicap, the American Party enthusiastically picked Anderson over Scherer by a vote of 64 to 28.
Well, I'm very gratified and very humble, and I believe we have a national party now that can really go places and get our message to the American people.
Anderson certainly has his work cut out for him if the American Party is to become a truly national movement, because in the presidential election it could only capture about 1.5% of the total vote. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
We as consumers spending our amount of money for these price automobiles, we're tired of taking them back to the shop again and again and again, sometimes as high as 40 times in the first few months of ownership to be fixed. They can't be fixed. All we're asking them to do is to give us an exchange or a refund as any other reputable merchant does on any defective product.
Here's a good...
A welfare situation. It is a self-help program, and it's just as important to us having a program funded that will deal with the needs and the problems and the concerns and the desires of the elderly as it is to have a program funded that deals with the arts and cultures and other aspects of the community.
I was never called in. I was never talked to. I asked Dr. Harden, being a lawyer, if he learned in law school, if he ever tried a man without having him appear before the jury or asked him if he's guilty or not, or given the man an opportunity to state his side of it. He said he never had. Well, you're an educator. You set back the American educational process 100 years.
To your knowledge, do both Harden and Tate support the decision?
I'm sure that everybody supported it. It takes an awful lot of support to fire a man with 2 years left and a 7-4 record. I don't have anything but the highest praise for my players and my coaches, and I really don't have anything else to comment on. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what my coach is going to do, and I certainly don't have anything derogatory to say about SMU. They made the decision. I am upset with the procedure that they used in doing it. 3 weeks ago, if they'd told us it didn't matter whether we beat Arkansas or Baylor or TCU, at least there's a few people around the country that think we're pretty good coaches. We could at least, they'd known we were fired and they could have been offering us a job. I've got a contract and I'll get paid. I don't know what the rest of my people are going to do.
What was the attitude of the team when you told them yesterday?
Well, I told them last night at the evening meal, and I don't, no one moved. They didn't stir. I told them, and I walked out. There wasn't anything I could say, but I felt like I needed to share with them because they'd been hearing rumors, and in all fairness to them, and I think you see what the youngsters think of not just me, but the entire coaching staff. They played a great first half. We substituted in the third quarter everybody that we could. We substituted freely, and everybody got to play. It was a great victory, and that's the way it should have been.
Did it come as a surprise to you that you weren't allowed to stay on as athletic director?
Well, I didn't even think of that. I've never been as shocked in my life to be fired as a coach. But I'm willing to go along with their decision. They made it. It's like my wife said, honey, if they don't appreciate you any more than that, the good Lord stepped in and you'll be blessed. There'll be something better.
My problem is finding the right gift for the wife. Window shopping in Fort Worth today produced a variety of ideas, like a color television set would be nice for both of us to watch football games. But since she doesn't like football, pots and pans, she would probably just crown me with them. I did find a gift she would dearly love to have at Lynn's Jewelers. It's a star, the Texas variety, but it also has the price tag of a star.
This price is $100,000, and this includes the stone, the brooch, as it is, as a complete unit.
If I wanted to buy this, could I put $1 down and $1 a week for 100 years?
Not quite, but we certainly can work out some arrangement.
Needless to say, I don't make the kind of money it takes to buy the Star of Texas, but I did look, and it's the thought that counts. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move in Fort Worth.
Montana, the backcountry, cast 2 votes.
Iowa cast 2 votes for Thomas Jefferson.
Iowa, 2 for Anderson. Michigan, 2 votes for Anderson.
Agree.
You all agree on that?
Yeah.
Hawaii cast 2.
Safeway, Goodman, Angelo's, the gentleman across the street, Captain PNH, and apparently this was nothing. And I think Mr. Breedlove had to straighten him out on that because
call the people. I see Al call, Rochelle call.
Of it. This is called the Star of Texas. This is We're on.
It does, when it catches that light,
it does. It has a lot of refraction of light. For a stone that size, it should.
Yeah.
And at that time, Mr. Tillman, their principal, will give them their instructions for the day. It appears now that the 8th grade will remain here at Bowie Junior High School, and that the 7th grade will be moved to schools in the immediate neighborhood for the remainder of this year.
Hopefully, the computer mapping program will enable the police department to better analyze crime statistics and to allocate manpower more efficiently.
During the time I was treasurer of the party.
How you doing? Pretty good. What I'd like for you to do, sir, is take a deep breath and blow in this mouthpiece like you're blowing up a balloon. Yes, sir. Fine. Very good.
Get that microphone.
Let's everybody get a big hand.
And I really thought they would. They felt that we
Which occurred during the month of October. And my assistants want us simply recording the occurrence of crime within each crimes for 1970, not for Fort Worth, but for Akron, Ohio. And I've got a friend at the University of Akron.
North wing of the school is a gutted ruin, and people by the hundreds turned out today to get a closer look at it. Yesterday that was difficult because of the thick smoke, and Irving Fire Marshal J.D. Mitchell told Channel 8 News this was no ordinary fire, and so he is now reasonably sure it was a case of arson based on the evidence he's been able to gather. But Irving Superintendent of Schools Dr. J.F. Townley said he feels initial estimates of the loss were too low. As he took me on a tour of the building, he placed the loss at closer to $2 million than $1 million. But the more important question for right now is the class schedule for the rest of the year.
We're asking all Bowie Junior High School students to report to the boys' gymnasium tomorrow morning at the regular school time for student assembly.
Well, normally, let's say crime data or statistics are recorded or they are put into tabular form. Such crime statistics, as when included into reports, are almost, well, not quite meaningless, but they're very, very difficult to interpret. Now, what we're going to do with these statistics is to put them into graphic form in the form of a picture so they can be seen and then they can be interpreted as they really occur over a particular surface, such as the city of Fort Worth.